Hello, everyone. Welcome to SSP Updates. So, I think there is a negative group that we're going to hear about, one that they're going to want us to be afraid of and worried about, and pull our resources together to be able to develop a defense against. Do you have any questions about that?
Yeah, so that sounds like that could have a lot of implications for destabilizing people with their religious mentalities on things and fighting over belief in this as a demon or something that we should even trust the government about what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of that, but from what I'm hearing, things are much deeper than that, even. And I've kind of been aware of this a little bit, but hearing now some of these military types talking about they are pretty sure there's an extra dimensional intelligence of some sort. It's not just one being, it's like maybe a civilization or a group. We don't know because it's another dimension. We don't know how sentient life forms exist there. And that this group has been, had discovered our dimension. Basically, their planet is the same place our planet is. We're just another dimension overlaid over theirs or whatever. They discovered a way to view it and manipulate it. And these were former military types. They were talking about how they believe they've been referring to these extra dimensionals as the architects of our reality, because they can control not only our perception of reality, they can control matter and actual reality, just like a video game, like we're in a video game or a simulation, and they can, rewrite the hallways that we're going down, or they can completely control and manipulate our reality somehow. And it's almost like we are in another dimension that is like a simulation to them that they've learned to interact with. And not only that, they send things physically from their dimension into ours that they've engineered, that are engineered to exist in our reality, because they cannot physically come here. It just like, we can't physically exist in the second dimension. So they send craft here, and these craft are not really craft. They're not propelled by engines and advanced technologies. They're more like diving bells, like how if we wanted to study the bottom of the ocean, we would tether a diving bell and lower it in, and then move it around, and it could move around a little bit. And what they're proposing is that some of these things are just like diving bells that have like an electromagnetic tether to them, like a tractor beam kind of connection to them, that to lure them into our dimension and to move them around. And it looks like they're doing all this crazy maneuvers, but it's just like a finger from another dimension dipping into ours, moving this kind of craft around, or this diving bell type thing around. And if something happens to interrupt that connection, it'll crash. And these extra dimensional beings also use programmed life forms and mechanical avatars to enter in and interact in our dimension. So yeah, that it was pretty interesting. You don't hear that level of discussion of extra dimension, all of this type of stuff. You don't normally hear that with the colonels and lieutenant generals. And I mean, these types of people, they don't normally talk. It's more nuts and bolts kind of stuff. And the discussions about who this intelligence is it related to this AI God intelligence that I've talked about? There's a whole lot of speculation right now, but this is this is something, and we don't know their and full intentions towards us. They've been manipulating evolution, our perceptions, time, space, matter. They've been manipulating it for our entire existence. But the big question is why? What's the agenda?
Yeah.
No one knows.
It certainly brings up a number of questions for me because obviously I've had a lot of studies with the raw contact. I have my own belief systems around interdimensional entities operating from the astral planes and that kind of thing. I assume we're talking about something that is not just the astral planes that we currently can interact with even our technology can apparently have in the time space or the other side. People call the other side.
This is a completely different dimension of reality. This isn't layers of our dimension or layers of our reality, which is what you're talking about. This is a completely different existence, dimension outside of our universe. It's another universe that has its own laws and its own cosmic agenda.
There's another thing I've always been curious about. It seems like there's a lot of people in our mainstream scientific communities who greatly prefer. It's almost like an easier step for them to take to say it's interdimensional rather than to say it's extraterrestrial because of the fact that we've been programmed to believe that we can't cross over the speed of light, and therefore it's harder. The technology side of it becomes more or less of a question when you're saying that this is not a technology that we could potentially have that would be useful for us. If it's just something that's interdimensional, then that kind of is swept under the rug. So that leads me to wonder if a story like this could be a part of a disinformation campaign to kind of cover over a lot of inconvenient things and just create one sort of narrative around it.
Well, a lot of people have been in the programs have been rejecting that idea because of their personal bias and religious ideology and how it doesn't fit in to certain things. So they have been leaving it out because of that. Apparently, things are going to come out in these disclosures that are going to back this stuff up about the extra dimensional beings that are visiting our planet. So it's something that they're having to come to terms with as being true, even though they don't fully understand it. But it's a part of what they're recovering, what they're interacting with. And it's something that they're coming to terms with. And many of us who, if it doesn't fit into our ideology, will label it as disinfo, of course.
Yeah. The Law of One books used an analogy that there are actually beings coming here where we have no way of knowing that they exist because it's like being on a desert island with no way to get to the other islands. And as we see something coming into our reality, then we know it exists. But until it comes in, we don't actually know.
And our perception of it's not usually going to be anything close to what we see and imagine it to be when we do perceive it in our 3D way. So there's the whole concept of in that extra, whatever dimension that is, it is so different from ours that we're projecting and overlaying our ideas on it constantly. We're not getting feedback from it other than recovered craft and a little bit of information here and there. But we're piecing things together on this end, but it seems to know everything about us.
So far, it does not seem to be controlling our governments or banks or anything like that. It's not connected to the Orion group or the negative controllers.
It's controlling reality on a much deeper level. It's controlling actual reality, not just how we perceive it, what we think we're seeing, like actual reality. So there are other beings that we're going to find out about that are manipulating and working with our government and all of that. But this is way high level, different. It doesn't interact. It observes people individually. It has the ability to observe every single individual at the same time on the planet. It's observing us, and no one really knows what its agenda is or what the agenda is, what's going on. People that are learning more and more about them, they're starting to question their own reality. They're really starting, what is this? What's the purpose of this? Why are they doing this? Is it nefarious? Are they getting something from us? Are they giving something to us? Is it just amusement? Why are they, and they could have manipulated things so their ability to manipulate reality, time, and space is so good that we wouldn't know what they've changed. We would we would not be privy to even understanding how or what they have changed. So, it is something that these military intelligence people are having to wrestle with. They prefer to talk about the other aliens that have the, visit and craft and that they've interacted with and been able to shoot down every once in a while. They're much more comfortable with that, as scary as it is. And they're so much further advanced than us. But this whole other thing that they're talking about, and I think they're calling them the architects here and there, but it is it has a lot of them creeped out, and they're having a hard time wrapping their mind around it.
Another subject was the nature of abductions. And do you feel that these groups are aware of the extent of what's going on with abductions?
Yes, and actually, maybe next year they're going to talk a little bit about the abductions that have happened. Different groups abduct humans. The negative group, sometimes the people that are abducted die have bad health effects from it, or even disappear. But they're going to say that this phenomenon is extremely rare, that during the 80s or 90s when the book Communion came out, and and we've kind of seen how it is, like people with the secret space program and everything, they see something, they get connected, and all of a sudden they're a part of it. They're going to say that, almost everyone that is claimed to be abducted is delusional, but it's just a very, very tiny part of society that has had that type of interaction.
So on the subject of abductions, do you believe that these groups who are believing that there are a relatively limited number of abductions, are they even aware of the genetic programs, genetic manipulation projects going on, where I assume there's more abductions happening than they realize because of the subtlety of these programs?
Well, they're going to play it down, of course. And I don't think the people that are doing the disclosures now know about the genetic programs. They all seem to have their own theories. And their theories are all over the place. So I don't think they have access to that information. But yeah, they're going to acknowledge kind of they're going to focus on kind of the negative ET groups in these disclosures, because the military is most concerned about it. And and I think to a degree, this is really going to be used to really try to bring us together to come up with weaponry and a fighting spirit against the negative ET groups. I think that's the ultimate thing that's going to happen. But right now, the people that are making these disclosures are doing so in good conscience, and they're trying to make the general population aware. And I think that I do believe that these groups have been told that they have a certain amount of time to make us aware of extraterrestrials, or the ETs were going to do it themselves. I talked about that in the TV show I was in like 8 years ago. And we are now at that time. So everyone who has been interested in the disclosure movement and topic, this is it. We're getting it. It's not a full disclosure like we would have hoped, but it's going to be a disclosure nonetheless. And I really hope people start supporting these whistleblowers, people in the community, and start calling Congress. If you're in other countries, start pestering and bothering your government to show what they know. And I think next year we're going to get a good deal of the way to disclosure. And find out a lot of interesting things. So I look forward to discussing that with you and with others and going into the new year. It's pretty exciting, but it's also a battle. The powers that be, the military industrial complex, do not want all of this out. So it is going to be a major battle for Congress and others to get this information out, and they need our support. I know a lot of people are demoralized because of everything that's happened in the disclosure community over the last 3 or 4 years, but you don't have to be a part of any community. Just as you personally, now is the time to start becoming an activist.